Um, moving on to Paid in Full, that was not released until the following year in 2002. But from what I read, you actually shot it in 2000 in New York, Ontario, and Toronto, like, right around that time. What was it like working with Charles Stone III, the director there?
Well, it's interesting. Speaking of first-time director, this was a case where the roles were reversed, and this was his first long film. I mean, he was great to work with, uh, and I had to be flexible to take into account that this is a new environment for him, and a lot of things were uh, 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 aspects of filmmaking that he'd never encountered before. And just the number of people involved in doing every little thing, and I'm sure for him that was quite an adjustment to wrap his head around. And but all that being said, he very soon became the captain of the ship, and it was great. And so it was a role where I had to, on the one hand, support and be there for him, and yet be careful not to overstep, because he was learning the ropes, and he's so gifted. It's not it wasn't a difficult job for him.
You would think that most great directors, they want to have a circle of people around them that are, like you say, someone like yourself, to not to still garner the knowledge, but say, hey, this is still your show to run. And again, I know you guys were shooting in New York. One of the things I talked to him about visually, like we but we both said it so much, like we felt like we were there. And one of the scenes that I brought out to him, well, I don't know if it was you or whoever thought about it. There's two scenes, and I know this was years ago, but it stands out to me. There's a scene where Mekhi Phifer's character Mitch and James Woods' character's Ace, they're at two different times in the film. They're looking out away, but what they're looking at, whether it's in their room or their home, it appears to just be a normal door. But to me, it felt like a jail cell. Like they knew that there was no way to get out, and things of these natures, a pull away shot. And I'm just like, man, whoever sat there and thought about it, whether it's you and the director, however y'all got the shot, it takes a group of people to visually get something like that done. And so I want to tell you guys kudos on the aesthetic. So what was it like shooting in New York and to be able to get all these great shots?
And of course,
Well,
he means Wood Harris, not James Woods.
I'm sorry. Oh my, I never mess up. This is my first time Woods Harris. Forgive me.
yeah, yeah. No, it's. I mean, it's a funny situation that it happens occurs a lot in Toronto, where Toronto doubles for New York or Chicago, or it's just the nature of so many American films that shoot in Toronto, because Toronto is fairly similar to a lot of American films cities. So and the accent of local actors, whatnot. It's a very frequent thing, but it was a big challenge, particularly for the Meher Ahmed, the production designer, that there's almost nowhere in Toronto that is like Harlem. So obviously it was super key to be able to actually go to the real place, see the real buildings, the real people. It lended an authenticity that would have been impossible if the entire film was shot in Toronto. So, well, Toronto, of course, to a large extent, the things that we're shooting there are the interiors, and so the important thing is how to translate, how to bring Harlem to Toronto. How to make, like you say, that door or that hallway, or so that was where there was a lot of discussion and planning and visual references that were used to help everybody reproduce that world. And one thing that was specifically and very visually integral to the whole thing was uh, uh, we were talking a lot about being in these apartments where the windows are the blinds are drawn, and you're in this kind of almost womb-like environment, it's very dim and whatnot, and that was something we were hoping to achieve and replicate, as that was very much something that came from the real place, even though we were sort of reinventing it. So it's definitely the trick of filmmaking to try to integrate both something that's very real and something that's trying to be real.
You guys paid off the phrase "movie magic, love." Movie magic.
Yeah, and the way the cinematography in that movie walks the line of realism and like abstract sometimes is very interesting. You don't see that in a lot of like many urban films don't dare to delve into the abstract too much as visually. We have a little bit of a rivalry going on here between who the standout actor is in the film between Mekhi Phifer as Mitch and Wood Harris as Ace. I just wanted to ask you, if it were up to you, who would the award go to between those two?
Well, they were both amazing, and but I guess I really got along with Mekhi. He's such a gentleman, and I mean that's only and I'm
You don't have to apologize. You don't have to apologize for the truth. It's okay.
He's obviously Team Mekhi.
Well, I mean, they're very different people, and Mekhi is one of those people who can just turn it on, turn it off, and he's a very very lovely person. And Wood is much more stays always in character and very focused. So obviously I'm biased by the just the personal connection, but I mean they're both amazing.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. No, what you thanking him for? He's on my side.
Well, I'm just thanking him for the honesty. So,
all right. So okay, all right. So before we go from that, are there any other thoughts you want to lend to the production? Like you say, it was years ago. Clearly, you've done a lot of projects. But again, one of the things I told him, because he had never seen the film before, and I say, listen, we're very transparent. Which I was like, this is not a black film. It's a film about things that are happening in Black America. Trust me, it's a big difference. I say, listen, from the budget they had to how it was made, to me, it's a standalone. I put it in a classic genre because it just feels good to me. So, did you have any other thoughts or any takeaways from the production when you were there?
Yeah, well, it's funny with this film, with Paid in Full, with every film, you're not really conscious of its impact or its importance or its position in culture when you're doing it. You're basically going shot by shot, problem solving, figuring things out, having to be flexible because everything is not what was planned or discussed, and you just feel happy to have uh, uh, relatively successfully managed to survive from beginning to end, and hopefully that you're a little bit proud of the work that's been done. And I would say that that film, like any other film, had that, and it was very enjoyable to go through that process.
find us in all these links. It's coming up right now.
That's the trailer.